glories, the assembled devotees. Hare. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining for our daily Srimad Bhagavatam study here at ISKCON of Philadelphia. We are reading, studying, and discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, Questions by Vidura, text number 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Saesha dosha purushadvidaste gruhan pravishto yam apatyamatya ushnasi krishnad vimuko gatashris त्यजा स्वशैवं कुलकौशलाया सएष दोषा पुरुषद्विदास्ते गृहान् प्रविष्टो यमपत्यमत्या उष्णासि कृष्णाद् विमुखो गतश्रीस् त्यजा स्वशैवं कुलकौशलाया सएष दोषा पुरुषद्विदास्ते गृहान् प्रविष्टोऽयम् अपत्यमत्या उष्णासि कृष्णाद् विमुखो गताश्रीस् त्यजा स्वशैवं कुलकौशलाया. Please recite.
स एव दोष पुरुषद्विरास्ते गृहान् प्रविष्टोऽयम् अपत्यमत्या उष्णासि कृष्णाद् विमुखो गतश्रीस् त्यजास्व शैवं कुलकौशलाय.
स एष दोषा पुरुषास्त्विदस्ते ग्रहान् प्रविष्टोऽयम् अपत्यमात्या पुरुषनासि कृष्णाद्विमुखो गताश्री त्वजेस्व अशैवं कुलकौशलाय. हरे कृष्णा.
हरे कृष्णा. स एषा दोषा पुरुषोदितस्ते गृहान् प्रविष्टो यमपत्तमत्या उष्णासि कृष्णाद् विमुखो गता श्रीः तैयशो वशैवं कुलकौशलया. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Shaesha doshaha purushadivaste grihan pravishto yamapatya matya ushnashi krishnad vimukho gata shresh tyajashva ashaivam kulakaushalaya.
Hare Krishna. Sa esh dosha purushadvidaste grihana pravishto yamapatyamatya ushnasi krishna davimuko gatushrish tyaja svasevam kulukoshalaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Krishna. Sa esa dosa purusa dvidaste grihan pravisto yamapatyamatya pusnasi krishna vimuko gatashri tvajas asaivam kulako salaya.
स एष दोषा पुरुषत्विदस्ते गृहान् प्रविष्टोऽयम् अपत्यमत्या पुष्णासि कृष्णात् विमुखो गतश्रेष्ठ्यजस्व अशैवं कुलकौशलाय.
Anyone else? Okay. Read the synonyms, translation and purport. Saha, he, eshaha, this, dosha, offense, personified, purushadvit, envious of Lord Krishna, aste, exists, grihan, household, pravishta, entered, yam, whom, apatyamatya, thinking to be your son, pushnasi, maintaining, krishnat, from Krishna, vimukaha, in opposition, gatashri, devoid of everything auspicious, tyaja, give up, asu, as soon as possible, asaivam, inauspicious, kula, family, kaushalaya, for the sake of. You are maintaining offense personified, Duryodhan, as your infallible son, but he is envious of Lord Krishna. And because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. Purport: a good son is called apatya, one who does not allow his father to fall down. The son can protect the father's soul when the father is dead by offering sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This system is still prevalent in India. After the death of his father, a son goes to offer sacrifices at the lotus feet of Vishnu at Gaya and thus delivers the father's soul if the father is fallen. But if the son is already an enemy of Vishnu, how, in such an inimical mood, can he offer sacrifice unto Lord Vishnu's lotus feet? Lord Krishna is directly the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and Duryodhan was inimical to him. He would therefore be unable to protect his father Dhritarashtra after his death. He himself was to fall down because of his faithlessness towards Vishnu. How then could he protect his father? Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to get rid of such an unworthy son as Duryodhan as soon as possible if he was at all anxious to see to the good of his family. According to the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit, what is the use of a son who is neither a learned man nor a devotee of the Lord? If a son is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, he is just like blind eyes, a source of trouble. A physician may sometimes advise the extrication of such useless eyes from their sockets so that one can be relieved of the constant trouble. Duryodhan was exactly like blind, troubling eyes. He would be a source of great trouble to the family of Dhritarashtra, as foreseen by Vidura. Vidura therefore rightly advised his eldest brother to get rid of this source of trouble. Dhritarashtra was wrongly maintaining such personified offense under the mistaken impression that Duryodhan was a good son, able to liberate his father. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Datati Sapadantikam. Namaom Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Sachinandana Swami Namne Nityananda Prishta Dinavatre Kirtana. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining for our daily Srimad Bhagavatam study here at ISKCON of Philadelphia. Before I speak, I seek blessings and permission from all the assembled devotees so that I can share something that I have heard and read, primarily for my own benefit and hopefully for the benefit of all. Hare Krishna. So I'll read the translation again. You are maintaining offense personified, Duryodhan, as your infallible son, but he is envious of Lord Krishna. And because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. So who's speaking here? Vidura.
Vidura.
Right. Vidura is speaking to whom? To Dhritarashtra.
Dhritarashtra.
Yeah. So this chapter is titled Questions by Vidura. And Prabhupada is explaining in the purport and also in the translation, it's explained about, who is a good son and who is a bad son. And, right when Duryodhan was born, Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to give his son away. Not to kill, but to give him away. Don't keep him with you. And we'll discuss about this, So those days, they were able to predict the future of, the son, what he will become later on, right? Like we saw even in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, right? When Parikshit Maharaj, so his birth is elaborately described in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how the Brahmanas predicted what kind of a person Parikshit will be and what kind of a king and how he will lead and protect the citizens. Yeah. And Yudhishthira Maharaj was also very curious to know what he will do in future, right? And he was told all these great qualities of Parikshit. And he was also informed that he will die by the bite of a snake bird Takshak, right? And what was Yudhishthira's reaction to that when he heard that he will die from the bite? What was Yudhishthira's reaction when he heard that? Did he have any reaction? No. He wasn't disturbed or surprised or worried, or he didn't try to counteract. Oh, how can I, stop this from happening? Because, the devotees, they know they're not too impacted by birth and death. They know it's common, right? And it's applicable for everyone. Birth and death are not that important. And even lower species of life also have children, also have parents, right? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, Janme janme sabe pita mata paye, Krishna Guru nahi mile, baja hari hoye. So, in any birth, janme janme, sab pita mata paye, everybody will get a father, mother. And that's not a very difficult thing. And there is no birth without a father and mother. So it's not very difficult. But if you cannot get Krishna, you cannot get bona fide spiritual master in every birth. Right? Only in human birth we can get this. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains. So the whole point is, it's not the birth, it's not the death. Prabhupada explains that what makes someone's life special is the quality of life. Yeah, is the quality of life. And the only goal of life is to improve the quality of our consciousness, to become Krishna conscious. Otherwise, taking birth and death is not that important. So, we can see Vidura had a blessing. He could see the future, right? He had, in certain matters, he had Trikala Drishti. So he could see what was going to happen. And one such thing was Duryodhana's birth. And Duryodhana's character, just like Maharaj Parikshit's character, was described by all these great Brahmanas at the time of his birth. Vidura was predicting Duryodhana's character at the time of his birth. He's saying he will become a sinful wretch, and this boy will cause a lot of problems to the entire family, to all the kings also. And if this person becomes a king, he will cause great danger and disasters to the society. Right? And I was talking about Parikshit Maharaj, So I just wanted to bring up one more point. Parikshit, as he was cursed, right, by Shringi, but Parikshit accepted that curse and did not counteract that curse of Shringi. And at that time, the sages were asking, who were assembled in Naimisharanya, they were asking, how can Parikshit allow his body to be cursed and finished? His body is the shelter for all the citizens. So how can he afford to die and allow it to be destroyed? The whole point is that Parikshit's body is the shelter for everyone. Look here. Here it says, if Parikshit dies, everyone will suffer. So, he was doing welfare activities for everybody. So, real welfare is, if a son is a devotee, then he can, Prabhupada writes in today's purport, he can help the father. Prabhupada writes, even if the father is fallen. And what is the greatest, so what is the greatest welfare we can do to the parents? Is to deliver them from the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. So this word putra is there, right? Sanskrit word putra. What is the meaning of the word putra?
Son.
Son. So putra. So what is the put means what? Hell. And tra means what? Anybody knows tra? Like mantra. We say the word mantra. Man means mind. And tra means
freeing.
freeing. Yes. So putra. So one who frees, who delivers from hell. So, and I was hearing putra and mutra. The point is, if we deliver our parents, then we become putra. Otherwise, saying like, it's like mutra. So a glorious son, you'll see when you see that child, immediately one should ask, oh, who are your parents? Right? By his qualities, they say. Yeah. So just like, the disciple. If the disciple is very sincere and follows the instructions of the guru, and by his behavior, we'll know who the guru is, and he brings glory to the guru. Srila Prabhupada used to say, my disciples are perfect gentlemen. Same way, by good glory and good behavior, we bring glory to our parents in this world, and beyond this world by delivering them. Yeah? You all are able to follow me, right? Yes. So, in spite of Vidura's advice, Dhritarashtra did not give his son up. He was so attached and he had to face the consequences. And we can see through the whole life throughout was full of turmoil and pain. And Duryodhana's behavior was also very whimsical. And we can see how this attachment of Dhritarashtra to Duryodhana becomes the cause of misery also. Generally, if I am attached to someone or something or a position, no matter how much good advice I get, but if it is against my attachment to that, then I don't accept. And we can see Dhritarashtra. Whenever Vidura got a chance, he advised Dhritarashtra that Duryodhan will become the cause of all these miseries. And if we, see, Dhritarashtra never disagreed with Vidura, right? He never said Vidura's words are wrong. Yeah. So, but he had so much blind attachment. And Vidura also told it's not just Duryodhan who will suffer. For sure, he will suffer. But Dhritarashtra, you, myself, Dushasan, all the brothers, other brothers, entire dynasty will be destroyed. So he tried to explain, give him away. The other point we can see is by separating him, what will happen? So Duryodhan will be weakened. So at least by his own efforts, he cannot destroy others much. He may still be, but not much. But if he's associated with the kingdom and the king, and he has access to all this wealth and all the army, then it can cause greater damage. But Dhritarashtra didn't, listen to this good advice. So we can see in this context, um, Duryodhan was, as he grew up, he wanted to show his strength, and he was envious of the Pandavas, especially Bhima. And he didn't restrict, to himself. We can see by the behavior of Dushasana and others that same envy was there in his brothers also. So Duryodhana influenced them also. And we can see Vidura, on the other hand, Vidura, we can see was very selfless. He had no, selfish agenda, and he had no expectations from anyone. He was very clear and pure, so he could advise without any bias. And so things were getting worse and worse, and Vidura was telling Dhritarashtra, and came to the point where he was trying to tell him in the most harshest words, get rid of this Duryodhan. So here we see Vimukha, right? The word used is Krishnat Vimukha, in opposition. So he was envious of Krishna. When he saw, and because of his greed, and when he saw Krishna was on the side of Pandavas, then he became more envious of Krishna. Remember when Krishna comes as a peace messenger in that Kuru Sabha, Krishna understood the whole situation and he exhibits his Virata Rupa. And we know he showed his form. Why? Because Duryodhan wanted to capture Krishna. Right? Duryodhan was thinking, if I capture Krishna himself, then everyone on the Pandavas side will be weakened. So here we can see that Duryodhan was envious. And when Krishna displayed this Virat Rupa, everybody was scared. Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhan was also scared momentarily, but when Krishna withdrew that form and left the Kuru Sabha, what happened? What did Duryodhan think? Yes? He was thinking, this is just some Maya. This is some magic. Krishna is doing magic. He's just a magician. I can also do such magic. So he was thinking himself equal to Krishna and considering Krishna also to be ordinary. So the other point that we are reading here in this translation is, and because you're thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Yeah, of course, this is talking about Dhritarashtra, but we can also see when one turns against Krishna, you are not left with any good qualities. So the translation saying you are maintaining offense personified Duryodhan, but is envious of Krishna. Because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. So the Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, 12th verse says, यस्यास्ति भक्तिर्भगवती अकिंचना सर्वैर्गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुरा हरावभक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणा मनोरथेना सति धावतो बहि. Or the translation, all the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudev. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculation and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? So Prabhupada writes in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is very beautiful. So one who is turns away from Krishna will not have any good qualities. All the meaning, all the asura qualities will develop. And what will be the life of such people? They'll destroy themselves, and their lifespan is reduced, and they'll become the source of misery for others too. So one thing we can see from here, as Vidura is advising Dhritarashtra, get rid of Duryodhan because he has such asura qualities. Question comes, so what should I do? Should we associate with people who are envious of Krishna, who have demoniac mentality? No, we shouldn't associate with such people, right? This is something that we keep hearing again and again, how association matters. So same thing Vidura is telling Dhritarashtra. You may be blind physically, but at least you have a mind and intelligence. Don't weaken them also. Then what happens? If my mind is weak, my heart is weak, what happens? Do I make right choices?
Mm.
No, no. Make wrong choices in life. And then what will that lead to? Our choices have consequences. They will lead to mental loss, losing our mental peace. It can lead to financial loss and destroy everything. So we see Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra also, like I mentioned earlier, Dhritarashtra knew Vidura was a very wise person. And he was giving him good advice. But Dhritarashtra was very weak. Yeah. And he would say, I know, Vidur, I know, and I'll tell Duryodhan not to do it. I'll convince him. For example, when Duryodhan wanted to play this gambling match, Dhritarashtra asked his counselor, Vidura, he asked Vidura. Vidura said, don't allow your son. This gambling is the root cause of all misery, and it will wipe out the Kaurava dynasty. You should not allow your son to gamble with the Pandavas. So Dhritarashtra, goes and tells Duryodhan, you should not do this. And can you guess what was Duryodhan's response? What did he respond? How did he respond? You listen to me or to Vidura? If you don't agree to my this, then I'll consume poison and die. If you oppose my plan. Again, Vidura comes, Dhritarashtra comes to Vidura and says, oh, look, Duryodhan is saying he's going to commit suicide. And what was Vidura's response? Wonderful. Wonderful. Let him commit. Because he was telling Dhritarashtra, don't be swayed by his words. Don't be threatened by his warnings. He won't go anywhere. Don't entertain all his nefarious plans. Again, Dhritarashtra goes to Duryodhan and says, Putra Duryodhan, my son, my heart says to please you, but Vidura, my counselor, is advising not to do. But Duryodhan was adamant and stubborn. Then what did Dhritarashtra do? And this is such an important point and a great lesson for me personally. Dhritarashtra says, oh, I have all these great people around me. Bhishma is there, Vidura is there, Dronacharya is there. Why should I fear? I am surrounded by all these great persons. Whatever happens in fate, that will happen. I will arrange for this gambling match, and you all are there to help with the result. He's thinking fate is inevitable. So see how to support this wrong thought. He's, using all these good points also. You see, and he was thinking, oh, Pandava suffered so much. Krishna was by their side, still they suffered. It is all because of the influence of Kala, time. See, to cover his emotional weakness, he is using all this justification. So I was just meditating on this. If I am weak mentally or emotionally to do the right things, sometimes this can happen. And I should not try to justify such wrong things. Then I'll never be able to come out of those weaknesses. And then these weaknesses will become, if I act on those, will become the cause of more misery. So the whole instruction is to try and control the mind, make it strong. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, right? An uncontrolled mind is one's
Yes.
worst enemy. Yeah, and the controlled mind is one's best friend. Yeah, and in this age of Kali, the process of controlling and purifying is to do kirtan and chanting of the holy names. Then the heart is strengthened, the mind is sharpened by serving the holy name, by remembering the Lord. Our consciousness is purified, and we should serve not for any material gains, kinchana. And so Dhritarashtra was weak and was trying to justify his act of supporting Duryodhan by blaming it on fate, Kala. And he was saying, and then what does Vidura tell him? Wait a minute. Don't blame it on fate. Don't blame it on fate. Fate is what? It is the result of my past actions, right? Right now, there is a choice to act. Fate doesn't determine our future, right? So Dhritarashtra had a choice to act, to think wisely and make a right choice. So, me also, every time, every situation presents this choice to act, to think wisely and make the right choice. We can see this in the example of Bali Maharaj also, right? Bali Maharaj surrender. He saw that a small, dwarf Brahmana boy came to him. He asked for 3 steps of land. With 2 steps, he took everything and is asking for a place to put his 3rd step. The 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam explains, right? Bali Maharaj was, his Guru Shukracharya cursed him. All the ministers around him were upset. Yeah. The all the people were weeping, the prajas were weeping, and his wife. Anyone remembers the name of Bali Maharaj's wife?
Vindhyavali.
Huh? Srimati Vindhyavali.
Vindhyavali.
So she was also so criticizing him. You think you are owner? No, Lord is the owner. And Bali Maharaj's head is bowed down. And the Lord, who is satisfied with just simple offering of a tulsi leaf, Ganga water, so much Bali Maharaj was giving in charity, but still Lord was not pleased. Yeah, he was testing him. He was testing to see if Bali Maharaj will pass or not. And Lord, we can see, test his devotees. And we see the qualities of the great devotees is that when they are tested, what happens? The best of their qualities come out. Like if you hit a sandalwood tree with axe, the more you hit the tree with the axe, what happens? The more nice fragrance comes, right? Right. Same way, more the devotees are tested, or what may seem like, apparent torture to the material eyes, but more beautiful qualities come out from devotees. And the world comes to know of, so, wow, what a great devotee so and so is. And Lord wants to glorify his devotees. So Bali Maharaj said, in this world there are so many well-wishers like mother, teacher, who chastise their children, who bring them on the right path, uh, but the punishment you gave is tremendous, but it is out of law. It is out of love, Krishna. Uh, you embrace someone or slap, it is simply love. I may not understand, but you're only showering your love, my Lord. So it's better for me to accept, and I'm offering myself to you. And seeing this, the Lord, Lord had tears in his eyes. And he said, you defeated me in love. So this is another thing that we can see, uh, uh, very important in the path of devotional service. Victory means to be defeated by the one whom we love. So, Bali Maharaj had the choice. That's the point I'm trying to make. He took that decision of full surrender. So Maya and Krishna are always there wherever we go. And Bali Maharaj could have opposed the plan of the Lord. Like you see in the case of Hiranyakashipu. He was also in a similar situation. When he saw the Lord coming out in the form of that half man, half lion, he was surprised. This is not ordinary, right? And he could have surrendered. He could have acknowledged and said, I know who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I surrender. And if he surrendered, would the Lord have killed him? No. No. So, both father and son would have been, not just Prahlad, even Hiranyakashipu would have surrendered to the Lord. So the whole point is you can see these divine qualities and demoniac qualities, the divine nature and demoniac nature. And one should have firm faith and should be free from envy. Then only one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord. Because of envy, we fall back into this material world. So, when a king is chosen, or when a prince is chosen to become the king, it is their values, it is the character that is very important. We also we say a lot of times we hear skills can be learned, right? So the character is very important. And Duryodhan, he was envious of Supreme Lord. He turned away from Krishna and had all these bad qualities. And some people you will see they don't want to turn towards Krishna. They are determined not to turn. Like you see when Krishna was riding the chariot of Arjuna, Duryodhan saw him, right? And he says, you just see the nature of the person who is envious towards Krishna and who is not envious towards Krishna. When Duryodhan saw Krishna riding the chariot, he says, "Oh Krishna, I saw you in Dwarka. Everybody is greatly appreciating you as a king and glorified you so much. And now you are a chariot driver? Are you not ashamed?" Krishna doesn't have any ego problems. He did it out of love. And what did Krishna do when Duryodhan said like that? He just smiled at him. On the other hand, we see Bhishma Dev also saw the same sight. And what was his reaction? He was overwhelmed with tears. Oh, how much Krishna loves Arjuna. It's called Krishna Sakha, right? So when devotee sees Lord showing so much love to another devotee, the devotee feels happy. Bhishma became very joyful. See, two people, mm, mm, Daivi Sampat and Asuri quality. So we can see uh, like Bali Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu, Duryodhan and Bhishma. Um, and so when a child comes from the mother's womb, this is the other point that a good son is called apatya, one who does not allow his father to fall down. The son can protect the father's soul when the father is dead. So, and then Prabhupada also gives in the purport, continues about this moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit. What is the use of a son who is neither learned man nor a devotee of the Lord? So, it is explained that, a first class son or a disciple is one who understands the mind of the father or the mind of the guru, and he immediately does it. Yeah. And the second class son is one you tell him and then he'll do it. Yeah. A third class son is one who will be, in spite of being told, he'll be inattentive. And even if he does it half-heartedly. And fourth category of son is somebody who completely disobeys. And he's compared to the stool of the father. Ucharitam pitu, good for nothing, completely disobeys. So when a child comes from a mother's womb, one can raise in such a way that it becomes beneficial to the family. But the point here is, but just like if stool comes out from a person, what is the use of that? Like that, And there's one nice story in this regard that I heard. Once there was a billionaire father. He had so much wealth, estates, land, so many servants, and he had 5 sons. And father was very concerned how to manage. It's ideal if all the sons cooperate, right? Uh, uh, so there were 5 sons he had. The one son, the fifth son, he would not care for the father. He would just come, take money, go away, and use that money to gamble and tell lies to his father. The father knew what was going on, that his son was on a wrong path, and the father started to tighten up things, lock everything up so he couldn't steal the money. Uh, then, you know what the son started to do? He started asking money from the father's friends. And father started, telling everybody, don't give any money. If anyone gives money, it's at your own risk. I'll tell you one. I had a distant friend of mine, just a little sidetracking, but it is something that I experienced. I have a distant cousin, who grew up with me. And I remember, his parents were well off. So he would always want to, enjoy by going out, spending money, buying food outside, watching movies. And I remember even I went with him a few times, and I couldn't afford uh, uh, and it was not part of my my upbringing either, and neither did my parents have that financial uh, flexibility to to give money for me to do these things. So I would go with him. He was my cousin, so I would go. Slowly I noticed, whenever he would make a plan. Let's watch a movie today. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then when he didn't have money, he would slowly take money from his father's wallet or his mother's purse. He wouldn't even ask permission. The reason I am sharing this is then he went on to do his engineering. Then he went to London for a few years, but I heard that he didn't really complete his degree. And then he got into, all kinds of bad association. And then he came back to India after 5 years. And then he started, spending a lot of his parents' money. And then I don't know what happened, but then he started borrowing money from others also. All our relatives, friends, even borrowed money from me, telling me that it's an emergency. Like this, he started borrowing money from anybody and everybody, including he made friends with my wife's cousins and reached out to them as well. Like this, it just reminded me, and when I later on I was told that he borrowed so much money, and then what was he doing? He was gambling. So it reminded me of when I was hearing this story. So anyway, this son, fifth son or one of the sons, he started asking from father's friends, and the father said, don't give any money. It's at your own risk. I'm not responsible. And the fourth son, was very polite, come to the father. Oh, I need a bike, father. Here, take it. He would offer obeisances, leave. Whenever he needed something, he would come and take. And father saw and realized he's not a responsible child. So one child was like that. This is the second child. Then the third son, he would be ready to go with his father to the business every day. And one day he said, "Oh, father, you have so many things on your plate. Give me some responsibility." The father said, "Good idea. Let me think about it." Uh, um, uh, and there was the other son who was most dangerous. He was quiet. He was meeting all the stakeholders, businessmen. He had an agenda to serve all the father's property. Oh, father realized, oh my goodness, this son is very envious and I need to be very careful. And the first son was most loyal. Oh, he would do whatever the father asked him to do. And he would not ask anything. And he would just live on minimal things. And even when the father asked him if he wanted something, he would say, "No, I don't need anything. I just want to serve you." you know and actually sometimes he would ask money for his other brother, the second or the third brother, to help them in their business. And then the father realized that he is the right person, best person to manage the wealth, and handed over all the property. You can manage everything, including all the sons. He gave this responsibility, even though they're all of different nature, but you are the right one. So the son in a family is considered a great blessing. Uh, just like Chanakya Pandit explains, the dog has a tail, but the tail is really not of much help. So like that, what is the use of big education, and what is the use of a son who is neither, very learned nor a devotee? So we can see in the Bhagavatam, great examples are given of great sons. Kardama Muni's example is there. Prahlad's example is there. Prahlad, he prayed for the deliverance of his father. And then we also see examples like Duryodhan. So we should follow in the footsteps of these great sons. And Vidura is telling, Dhritarashtra, Pandavas are all pure devotees of the Lord, and your son is envious of them. He's planning to kill the Pandavas. He's planning to capture Krishna. And Vidura was this is Vidura Niti. He was a great devotee of the Lord. He's a Vaishnava and gave pure advice. So, like we see, even Vibhishan gave good advice to whom? Anyone remembers?
Ravana.
Ravana. But did he listen? No. So, you see, but all these Vidura, Vibhishan, these great personalities are there. So, I can learn from these. And just few points I wanted to share. I'll pause here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Please forgive me for any mistakes and please correct and or add. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Vishnu Villa.
Hare Krishna Prananatha Prabhu. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about the son protecting the father or delivering the father by doing the sacrifice at Gaya to Vishnu. So could you explain a little more what is that protection or what is that deliverance, and whether in ISKCON or with those people who are followers of ISKCON and Krishna consciousness, do we do that also? Is that something that we do?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for asking. my understanding is it's here the Shraddha ceremony is being described, and if I recall correctly, Lord Chaitanya also performed this, right? So as my understanding is yes, based on what I have read and heard and seen the devotees. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also performed this, and my understanding here is that this is talking about the Shraddha ceremony and offering the ashes into the Ganges. Is that
Well, my first question was, what is the nature of the protection or deliverance that results from if one does perform the Shraddha ceremony? And of course, there's the Shraddha that might be done subsequent to the death, but there's also Shraddhas that are done every year on the Tithi of the death or during that. So is that something that ISKCON does or not? Or those two questions I have.
oh, first, my understanding is, if the son is a devotee and he performs this, then whatever little devotion has been performed, like we see in the case of Prahlad, right? It was said that 21 generations will be liberated. So, so by performing these sacrifices to the Supreme Lord Vishnu by a devotee, then it should, at least whatever, so he should be liberated from this cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death, or at least promoted. I mean, this is my understanding about every year performing. I don't know, Prabhu, but I do know that some devotees do perform. But I don't know what is the official stand of ISKCON on this. So delivering the father from going down to lower species of life, at least he should get a chance to continue their spiritual journey, or in some cases be even liberated. Like we say, we hear from Prahlad Maharaj that the 21 generations are liberated. Does that answer your first question, Prabhu?
Yes, so you mentioned that the deliverance or the protection is not necessarily that they're going back to Godhead deliverance,
No.
but like the putra, as you mentioned, putra means hell and tra means to liberate somebody from going to the hellish planets or hellish condition. Or hellish condition can be lower planets, can be animal births, can be ghostly existence, all those kinds of things. So it's not necessarily that they're going to go back to Godhead, although they become free from lots of sinful reaction, even though the person died some time ago. And sometimes we say, oh, somebody dies and they get they get a next body immediately, right? So what happens with that? Paula, those questions are there. One time, when my father passed away, I brought he wanted to be cremated. His body, he left it in his will. So I brought his ashes to India and put in the Ganges. And one of my friends, who was a devotee, ISKCON devotee, he laughed at me and said, "Oh, what do you think? What's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of that? He's already got his next birth. What's he gonna? You're gonna change his next birth? He's already got his next body. So what is the use of all this stuff? What should I respond to?"
I mean, as you said, I mean, in this particular, if somebody already, but still, I think because you perform these sacrifices as per the scriptural injunctions, there will be every opportunity for that body to make spiritual advancement. That, I mean,
Yes, yes. The idea of putting the ashes in the holy river, that comes from the story of Bhagirath. And you know that he had some ancestors who were burned up because of their offenses to Kapila, but years later. So that's how Krishna resolves it is not up to us, it's up to Krishna, if this is recommended, right?
Right.
It's up to Krishna how he's going to do it, but certainly it's beneficial for the departed soul. Of course, then at the same time, the sacrifice that we perform, the main part of our sacrifices is always the chanting of the holy names. That's our recommended sacrifice. So whatever other rituals or things we do, the main thing is chanting of the holy names of Sankirtan for the benefit of not only the departed soul, but us and everybody else.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes. So what is, sorry, I don't know. So what is ISKCON's position on this about annual sacrifices?
Oh, you'd have to ask ISKCON.
Okay.
Traditionally, there's a certain month, the Shraddha month, isn't it?
Yes.
And during that Shraddha month, on the particular titi of the departure of the person, then the people do a special sacrifice or ceremony. And of course, traditionally, it's not always Sankirtan. Usually, it's other things. Mother Sangeeta wrote a book about departing, and but she doesn't mention this aspect of it. The shrouds that are done, there's a smarta way of doing shrouds, which is quite elaborate, where at the death of a relative or a parent, one has to wait 11, 15, or 30 days, and on that day they give in charity a shoes, a water pot, an umbrella, a bunch of others, a bed, and also feed all the brahmanas and even the animals they have to feed, because person's on their way to Yamaraj, But the description of Shraddha that I know that's the most elaborate is in the book called Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava, because it was a big controversy within the Gaudiya Math at the time about how to do Shraddha for the departed relatives of devotees. In Bengal at the times, the Smriti, the Smartas Brahmins had a kind of a monopoly on what should be done. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta emphasized, as I said, the chanting of the holy names and offering of prasadam to the departed soul, and on any day or any day practically. So there was a big controversy between the Smarta Brahmins and the Gaudiya Math. So it would seem as if that would recommend that aspect, following the teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Whether Srila Prabhupada gives specific instructions on that, that's covered in Mother Sangeeta's book. I forget what it's called. You know that book?
That so that
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the book now. Thank you, Prabhu. So the purpose behind, so just to summarize, the purpose behind performing the sacrifices is to help them from not going to hellish planets and get a body which is favorable to perform bhakti so they can continue their journey back home, back to Godhead. Is that right conclusion?
Yeah.
And should be always accompanied with kirtan and sarprashadam. Yeah, any activity that we do, even if it is as per scriptural injunctions, these Shraddha ceremonies, but should always be accompanied by Sankirtan and Prasadam. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Bhakta David.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. That raised the question for me. Is there not already a benefit for family members just being in association with a devotee without having to do, ceremony? I had the understanding that, the family had certain blessings just because someone was a devotee in the family as well. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, benefit is definitely there, but you still have to, the body's, when the body becomes old and useless, this process will free the soul from the body so that the soul can continue its onward journey. So yes, definitely association is there and it all remains with the soul, but this process of performing this frees the soul from the body.
Thank you for your
Any other comments? No? It's 9:04, so we'll end here. Thank you so much for the opportunity and thank you for your association. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha.
Nandavyayacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prananatha Prabhu. Very nice.